My real estate agent friends, we've got one of the largest, what I call a disruption to our industry happening. The message I want to put out this morning to anybody watching this video is a message of positivity and a message of optimism. I want you to look at this shift in our business, this disruption to our industry with the NAR changes as a gift to yourself. So today, what I'm excited about is we're going to cover what these forms are. As far as, there's two of them, and we're going to go over the eXp Realty forms, but it's a single property buyer broker representation agreement and buyer broker representation agreement. If I can challenge you to use the information from this video more to, your mind is a muscle. You guys know that. Use this to exercise the muscle in your mind and your mindset to really understand how you're going to use these forms to grow your income, grow your business, and more than ever, grow your value. So having said that, let's jump into how to fill these forms out and how to become the most effective buyer's agent you possibly can be. I'm John Foster, and I help real estate agents, team leaders, and broker owners scale to be number one in their marketplaces. So today we're going to fill out the buyer broker representation agreements that everybody knows is a requirement. Here we're in California. The requirement is statewide, but I know here in California, there's been some specific language and probably multiple other states, if not nationwide as well, that these forms must be in place prior to opening a door. Wow. That is a big deal prior to opening up a door. So let's go through the strategy, the scripting, the mindset, and the sequence of steps that's going to be required for your business to grow. And I guarantee you guys, every time there's been a disruption in real estate, the market conditions, or in this case, processes and procedures that could affect market conditions, the agents that have dug in deep to embrace it have been the agents that have increased their income. Be one of those agents. Let's go ahead and jump right into this. And the first form we're going to talk about, and we'll link these below, but it's going to be the single property buyer broker representation agreement. And I'm going to frame this as best I can into, first of all, why you would use this. The reason you'd use the single property buyer broker representation agreement is for a brand new client you've never met before, they've never met you before, and you need to develop a relationship and earn their trust in order to then get them to sign a buyer broker representation agreement, which is more of a longer term agreement. In California, maximum by law, we can have the length of the agreement is going to be 90 days. We'll talk about that in a minute. So I'm going to use an example of a website phone call, and let's just kind of jump right into it. So you're at the office, a call comes into your company or your team's website, and it's basically a touring request. And it's somebody that just, again, it's a website inquiry. It's a person we don't know and they don't know us. So the call comes in, the lead is transferred to an agent. The agent's going to pick up the phone and say, Bob, I'm so excited that you submitted this touring request. I'm excited to meet you. Looks like the home is priced well. It looks like it's in a great neighborhood. Looks like it's been remodeled. Really excited to go ahead and tour this. Bob, were you aware that there's some real estate laws that changed nationwide? You've probably seen it in the media on August 17th that we've got to have a touring agreement in place. You just want to make sure that you're taking a soft approach to getting this agreement signed, because remember, it is a requirement. My advice is to just ask what the client is more comfortable doing. Bob, would you like to meet at my office? It's about 5 minutes away from the property you requested a tour. Or would you be more comfortable jumping on just a quick Zoom call with me? I can quickly go over this form and, again, be a good listener. Listen to how Bob responds. Try to just, when I say downplay it, I don't mean to say that these aren't important, but just take a casual approach to, yes, this is an important requirement, but just try not to make it feel like a long-term commitment, because that's the idea of the single property buyer representation agreement form. Is it's not a long-term agreement. It's basically a touring agreement to show a home. And if there's a relationship that's being developed between you and the buyer, then it can lead you to an opportunity to get the longer-term agreement signed. So just remember that. You want to take what's called micro commitment steps to lead up to yourself being in a position where you can get the long-term 90-day agreement signed. So remember that in your mindset, that the goal is not to get a long-term agreement signed. The goal is to get the single property touring agreement signed. So gauge what Bob has to say. And if there's some slight resistance that you're feeling, you just say, Bob, I would, if nothing else, just would love an opportunity to give you a short explanation of what this even is if he's not sure what it is. And I just want to let you know, Bob, that this isn't just me or my team or my company or my brokerage that's making this requirement. This is all real estate agents nationwide as a result of the National Association of Realtors settlement that requires these changes. So that puts his mind at ease that he's not thinking on the other end of the phone, well, gosh, I got to hurry up and get off the phone with this crazy agent and go call an agent that's not going to make me sign this, because all agents need to have him sign this. So anyway, I just want to frame that properly. So once you've established where you're going to meet, whether it's virtually or at your office, we did the buyer presentation on the last video. I'd encourage you guys to go back and watch that. I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, but the single property buyer broker representation agreement simply defines a property. And if it's maybe you're touring 2 or 3 that day, just write those addresses in there. Length of the agreement is going to automatically end, and it allows you to put in a date. Remember, you're defining properties on this agreement, okay? So this is where you could put a longer term. Now, if it's 30 days or 60 days on this, remember, this form only applies to those addresses. Okay, if Bob goes and looks at a bunch of other homes, then that does not apply if it's not on this form. And that's the idea. You want to assure him that we just met, you don't know me, I don't know you, we're developing a relationship and hopefully some trust and rapport. But for just this property, I've got to have this agreement in place. Agency disclosure, number 3, just simply goes through the buyer and the broker and the agency relationship. The broker fee, again, I'm not going to get into this on this video. You can watch my previous video to see how I explained how we get paid. Remember, you can negotiate that. Commissions aren't fixed by law, but you're going to put in the fee that you want to earn there, either a percentage of the sale price or a dollar amount. Number 5 says, for best experience, buyers encouraged to work exclusively with broker concerning the purchase of this, again, said property, to be accompanied by the broker on the first visit. And that's what you're doing. You're accompanying them on that first visit, and to conduct all negotiations for the property in good faith exclusively through the broker. So again, I'm not going to spend a ton of time dissecting this form, but if there are additional terms that you want to negotiate with the buyer on this tour, go ahead and write that in there. Other buyers, it says that buyer acknowledges that broker may represent multiple buyers interested in this property above, if that's the case. And very simply, you're going to put the buyer's name. If there's more than one, put their names there, your brokerage and your name, and that is it. It's that simple. So I want you guys to keep it simple, keep it short and sweet. Remember that less is more, and kind of just move on. You get it signed, give him a copy, or let him take a photo of this form with their cell phone so they've got a copy, and just remind him, say this, thank you so much. I really appreciate you allowing me to explain this to you now, and let's be excited and let's go tour this home that you requested to see. It is that simple, you guys. So that is, again, the single property buyer broker representation agreement. And remember, as I explained in the previous video, these are eXp Realty forms. We're in California. California Association of Realtors has their own forms. That's great. That's fine. They're much lengthier. I'm not here in this video to tell you one is better than the other. Our team has taken a stance to use the eXp Realty forms. If you prefer to use the CAR forms, go for it. The process is the same, but just understand that that form is much lengthier, and you're going to want to master that form. All right, so you've gone on your tour for the first time with this brand new potential client of yours. And remember, you've gone on the tour with the single property form. You haven't signed a long-term agreement. I want to challenge you guys to think differently right now. And I want you to think of a listing that you got, and the seller interviewed multiple agents and they picked you. How exciting is that? Now, not only is that exciting for you, you got a new listing. It's also, think about it, it's exciting for the client. They're like agonizing a little bit on selecting the right agent, and they decided to pick you. They're excited. I want you guys to think the same way with buyers. And here's where I think agents will struggle. They're going to doubt themselves on getting an agreement signed for 90 days to be their buyer's representative, their buyer's agent. And because they're doubting themselves, they're projecting that doubt onto the client, and the client's going to push back, and there's going to be resistance, and they're going to feel like people can sense body language and energy, and they're going to sense that there's some hesitation from the agent, And now this agent that's hesitating is asking me to sign a 90-day agreement. I don't feel comfortable with that. So remember to not feel that way and feel like you're interviewing for no different than you would for a listing with the seller. You're interviewing for the job that's so exciting to help this buyer or this family find their dream home, and you're excited. So again, this is 90% mindset and 10% skill. If you can take that excitement and project that positive mindset onto that buyer, that I am so excited that you've allowed me to show you, what exactly the steps I'm going to take to get you the best deal on your property, to go through multiple avenues and resources that I have at my disposal to find that perfect home for you and ultimately hand you the keys to your dream home. I could not be more excited. So in the state of California, as we talked earlier with the single property broker agreement, I'm going to be the best asset in terms of being a pivotal piece of the puzzle in your home buying process. But in order to do that, we've got to have an agreement to work together. And you're going to, phrase it to where it's authentically you. I'm giving you some talking points, but make sure that it's your authentic you, your style, and your value to ultimately, what I really want to try to say to you guys, get them excited to sign it. So again, let's go into this real quick. And remember, this is a longer term agreement. And it says right here, number 1, properties. The undersigned buyer engages in the undersigned brokerage firm or broker. And again, this is an eXp Realty form to represent the buyer concerning buyer's purchase of the below selected property types. Remember, we're not talking about addresses now. This is property types. I would recommend you be very smart about how you fill this out. And typically you're just going to fill out residential. Now, if they inquired on land or they said, gosh, we might want to build our own custom home, you might be checking the land box and the residential box. Other might be a mobile home, commercial. I doubt a buyer that's looking for a home is going to end up buying a commercial property, but the box is there. Geographic area. I had some agents in my office just jokingly say, well, I'm just going to write state of California. Okay, we are licensed in the state of California. You can sell real estate anywhere. I would say do this within reason. My advice is do this by county. I would not put specific cities because what I've learned is that changes all the time. So I would try to give yourself the largest geographic area within reason that is possible and stick with that. Okay, number 2, length of the agreement. Again, in California, the law here is we can't sign more than a 90-day agreement. If the law is different in your state, I would encourage you to understand what that number would be because that's really important. So you're going to want to put the length of the agreement. 90 days goes by quick. Putting 90 days in there, if you've articulated your value correctly, this will be very easy to get past. This will not be a sticking point. If it is a sticking point, you need to go back to the video I did last week and watch how to articulate your value. That will solve your problem there. Number 3, agency disclosure. It's very simple. This is defining who your brokerage is and the relationship between the brokerage and the buyer. Number 4, broker's efforts. Pretty simply, the broker is going to exercise good faith to locate and present suitable properties that fit the buyer's criteria, tour and prepare detailed analysis of specific properties. You always want to run comps, obviously, for any buyer, any home your buyer decides to put an offer on. And it talks a little bit more about the real estate licensee, in this case, you, the buyer's agent, working with the seller to facilitate and complete buyer's purchase of the property. Number 5 goes into, for best experience, buyers encouraged to be accompanied on the broker. Buyers encouraged to be accompanied by broker on buyer's first visit to the property. This is critical to establish your agency relationship with the buyer to make sure that the agreement you've got signed is going to stick legally if it needs to. So keep that in mind. So number 6, as you can see, is broker fee. And again, it says right here, the broker fee is not set by law. It's fully negotiable. This fee that you're talking about has been what's called decoupled from the brokerage representing the seller. So what does that mean? Previously, the listing broker would share a portion of the commission with the buyer's broker. That is not happening anymore. That was the point of the DOJ wanting to decouple that from how buyer's agents get paid. This is negotiable. So now what this is saying is that, in so many words, the listing broker's not sharing a commission. Now, even if the seller's willing to compensate the buyer's agent, which I do believe most sellers will continue to do. This is basically stating that you, as the buyer's broker, are going to negotiate with the seller for them to share whatever position or percentage you put in here or dollar amount for your compensation. I would use this as, again, building value, and I would explain to your buyer that you're still going to work to get the seller to either credit you, credit the buyer to compensate you, or to pay you directly on this fee. So I can't get into too much detail on commissions in a video like this. I just want you guys to understand the bigger picture is that your negotiation strategy is going to make your buyer feel more comfortable if you can paint the picture to your buyer that because of the way you're going to present offers to sellers on homes that they want to purchase, that the seller is still going to cover your fee. So I'm going to let you describe that however you want to your client. But if you do it correctly, and this is the honest truth, in almost all cases, I didn't say all, I said almost all, your fee will be covered by the seller. Page 2 is pretty short and sweet, but collecting broker fee from the seller, it just really talks about how that's going to work and how that's broken down. If there are any additional terms, whatever that may be, you can write those in the document down below. Again, number 8, other buyers. 9, cancellation. It does say either party may cancel this agreement effective upon delivery of written notice to the other party unless buyer is under contract to purchase the property. So I know some people that makes them feel uncomfortable, but I think, again, it's all mindset, 90% mindset. I think that you should highlight number 9 and read it out loud, just like I did. Either party may cancel this agreement effective upon delivery of written notice to the other party unless buyer is under contract to purchase the property. So when you show them this cancellation, in my experience, a buyer will only want to cancel, or a seller, really no different, will only want to cancel if the value that was presented to them upfront isn't being followed through with. So I want to put your mind at ease about that, because I've heard some people go, oh my gosh, what's this cancellation clause? If you're doing your job the right way and delivering the value you promised, cancellations aren't going to be a regular thing. I promise you, trust me. So hopefully that helps you guys. That pretty much wraps it up. Down below, there's going to be an option to put buyer 1 name. If there's a second buyer, to put buyer 2 name, your brokerage's name, your license number. That is it, you guys. Okay, my friends, I've done the best job I can to just break these forms down. And I've said this multiple times in this video. This is 90% mindset. It's 10% skill. Having said that, you guys, I am excited. 2025 is right around the corner. I know for a fact that because of this disruption, that real estate agents that embrace it and they look at this as a gift, thank you for this gift that's challenging our industry to be better, to do better, to provide more value, to work harder for the client. Your 1099 in 2025 will blow you away. I mean that in the most optimistic, positive way possible. So with that, take the information I shared in this video, embrace it, learn it, practice with your teammates, understand how you can be the best agent you possibly can be. Go out there, use this opportunity to your advantage, and go out there and win. Thank you for watching.